The Icelandic explorer and trader Thorfinn Karlsefni came into this world in the latter half of the 11th century. This Icelandic nobleman, who was descended from monarchs, was born Thorfinn Thordarson. He led one of the Norse voyages that ventured to Vinland, a region of coastal North America. The Greenlander's saga is just one of many sagas that mention Thorfinn's exploits. Eric the Red's saga focuses mostly on him. While many of you may be familiar with Thorfinn from Vinland Saga, we'll be exploring this noble adventurer's true life today. His tale is thus. People believe that Thorfinn was born in Iceland circa 980 AD. His unknown origins are the source of the English translations of his nickname, Karlsefni, which means the makings of a man, or a promising boy. They say that Thorfinn was born into a powerful family who controlled vast amounts of land. Legend has it that Thorfinn was a royal descendant. According to his family tree, which is based on the medieval Icelandic text known as the Landnámabók, a work that describes the settling of Iceland in extensive detail, he was related to Bjorn Ironside on one side and King Kjarval of Ireland on the other. Thorfinn may have been motivated to strive for greatness by the illustrious and legendary men that came before him. Thorfinn started trading commodities between Iceland and Norway when he was a young adult, according to the Vinland Sagas, after purchasing a portion of a merchant ship. Eric the Red's saga portrays Thorfinn as a prosperous trader hailing from Skagafjörður in northern Iceland, and this aligns with what is stated there. It is believed that Thorfinn spent his childhood at the estate of his father, Stad. Here, at his farm of Höfdi, Thorfinn's great-grandfather had laid the foundation for his family. Thorfinn would lead a fleet of 40 men to Greenland in the summer of the year 1000, as described in the saga of Eric the Red. Eric the Red would ask Thorfinn and his companions to spend the winter at his residence in Brattahlid once the ships reached Greenland. Thorfinn eventually got around to talking to Eric about marriage, namely with his son, Thorstein's widow. Eric approached Gudrid with the proposal and she accepted, saying that she was deserving of a nice match. So, Thorfinn and Gudrid tied the knot. Thorfinn would gain from the marriage to Gudrid because of her aristocratic connections. She was the widow of Eric the Red's youngest son, and Eric was well known and revered for founding the first Greenland settlement. On the other hand, Thorfinn was not without ambition. He was to spearhead an expedition to settle Vinland, a continent just discovered by Eric's son, Leif Erikson, somewhere between the years 1003 and 1015. Thorfinn and his companions set sail for Greenland's western settlement after abandoning the eastern settlement. Shortly after, the party was back at sea for another 2.5 days before finally touching down on dry soil. When Thorfinn and his companions explored, they discovered many flat stones. They called it Helluland, which means stone land. Another day of sailing would pass before they came upon a region encircled by massive forests and teeming with wild animals. They discovered bears on an island in the southeast of the country. Thus, they named it Bjarni, which translates to Bear Island. They named the landmass they had sailed past Markland, which translates to Forest Land. The adventure would go on as planned for Thorfinn and his companions, who bravely battled a powerful current to reach a nesting island. The party spent the winter here, but they were unprepared for the harsh weather and had almost run out of supplies. While Thorfinn headed south to Vinland, part of the group would go back to Greenland. They named a landlocked bay Hop after their discovery. They could cultivate their grapes and wheat here. The forest was teeming with wildlife, including several creatures and an abundance of fish. Snorri would be born to Thorfinn and Gudrid during the voyage. Many historians believe he was the first European born in the Americas. As Thorfinn and his companions surveyed their surroundings one early morning, they beheld 9 hide-built kayaks. As a gesture of goodwill, Thorfinn and his friends decided to greet the canoeists with a white shield, suspecting they might be attempting to signal peace. They continued in this manner until eventually the canoes would dock. The indigenous inhabitants of Vinland were described as short, stocky men with big eyes and wide cheeks in the saga of Eric the Red. Initially, they stood in stunned silence, but eventually, they rowed south. The indigenous people, called Skrælings by the Vikings, returned in the spring in larger numbers, and Thorfinn's group resumed trading furs and cloth with them. Thorfinn forbade the Skrælings from purchasing weapons and lances. Still, friendly commerce would flourish between the two factions. But one day, a bull owned by Thorfinn unexpectedly burst out of the woods just as both groups were bonding. Startled and frightened, the Skraelings rushed to their canoes and paddled away. For more than 3 weeks, they were not seen again, until one day they were spotted rowing back toward Thorfinn's camp. This time, they were all roaring in unison. Sensing hostility, Thorfinn gathered his men and prepared to confront the Skraelings, recognizing now that they had returned as enemies. As Thorfinn and his allies formed a barrier, the two sides charged into a fierce battle. But the Skraelings came better prepared. They wielded slings, catapults, and a barrage of arrows. Many of Thorfinn's soldiers, overwhelmed by the assault, fled down the river. It was during this chaos that Eric the Red's daughter, Freydis, emerged from her home and shouted, "Why run from such worthless creatures? I could fight better than you if I had a weapon." In the sagas, Freydis, a fierce and fearsome woman, is described as Leif Ericsson's sister and Eric the Red's daughter. As the Skraelings encircled her, she found a fallen warrior, seized his sword, and slapped the blade against her exposed chest. Then, in a stunning act of defiance, she undressed, revealing that she was heavily pregnant. The Skraelings, frightened by her courage and the surreal sight before them, turned and fled. Freydis' bravery was praised in the sagas. Knowing that staying would mean constant war and fear, Thorfinn and his companions made the decision to leave. Before wintering further north at Straumfjord, he set sail away from Vinland. His return to Greenland marked the end of the first and only attempt by Icelanders and Greenlanders to establish a settlement in North America. Thorfinn, his wife Gudrid, and their son Snorri eventually made their way back to Iceland, where they settled again. On their journey, Thorfinn and his companions had found abundant grasslands, rich fisheries, and timber. They had encountered Native Americans and survived a long, treacherous voyage that spanned years. An intriguing tale of exploration and adventure unfolds in the lives of Thorfinn Karlsefni and his wife Gudrid. Their legacy would echo through the centuries. Among the many notable descendants of Snorri and Thorbjorn, sons of these noble pioneers, were bishops and knights. People continue to tell Thorfinn's story, proving that his brief attempt to found a permanent community wasn't entirely futile. The anime series Vinland Saga even features him as the main character, immortalizing him even further. I hope you found this video entertaining. If you enjoyed this historical profile, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll be back soon with another one.